Street Scene Power Hour is coming back into your living rooms, into your cars, and into your brain, because here we come again to pester you with hosts Larry Ward, the other host, whatever your name is, Rick Guerrera.
The other pest.
Yeah, the other pest, the pester, everybody.
Yeah, we're the pest.
We're into your brain.
We've got Ron Dubas with us, and we're trying to get Jim Mamonis. And, you know, the reason why we have them here with us today is they've both won awards at our recent Street Scene Car and Custom Bike Show. So, Jim, we're trying to work on Jim's audio here, but we do have Ron here with us. Ron Dubas, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You know, and we'll start off. Let's do a little quick review. This past Sunday, which was July 25th, we're recording this Street Scene Power Hour a little bit later than that, but we just recently had our 10th annual Street Scene Car and Custom Bike Show at Austintown Park, and there was 3 words for that, and I'm going to say the 3 words: hot cars, hot motorcycles, and man, was it hot weather.
Yes, it was.
hot weather. So, and
that humidity was killer, boy. I'll tell you.
It was.
But we did have. I did just tallied this. We had 253 registered vehicles. That's including bikes and motorcycles, and you know, it's a little bit less than we had last year, but it was. Oh, was that Jim? Was that Jim?
There's Jim.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Hey, we got Jim. Yeah. All right. I am so glad that you joined us too. That is Jim Mamonis. He is with us as well, and he has won one of our awards. Anyway, we're going to keep continuing. Everybody jump in here if you got some comments and questions. But we had hot weather. We did have a nice day out. You know, it called for probably 50-60% chance of rain all week, and you know, sitting there just sweating bullets because of that. But we did turn out a nice show. And Larry, your thoughts on the show this year compared to other ones, because you've been with us for quite a while on this on the Street Scene Car and Custom Bike Show, judging the motorcycle classes, I should say. Well, your thoughts on that?
Well, look, a couple things come to mind. First of all, I agree with you. It was very hot, but you know what? Every time I come home and I'm sweating and it's July and I whine to my wife, she goes, "My gosh, it is July and it is hot."
Yeah.
But I will say this. First of all, I would like to congratulate and compliment all of the volunteers that helped make that show successful.
Yeah,
there was a bunch of them. You know, they did a terrific job. And even some of the other people, like the girls, I think they were from like I can't remember, but they had those
American Heart Association.
American Heart Association. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So those were really good. I want to thank Thomas John, longtime buddy.
Yes.
Came out there and does his usual stuff. The band was cool.
Vegas.
And I think everything was good. But what I like about this car show and bike show is that you truly get a variety of things that you aren't likely to see at other car shows.
Yes.
You know, from not only the various types to the various styles. I mean, you had lowrider cars, rat cars, supercars. I even saw a Volkswagen with a metallic green paint job that had a Subaru stuffed into it with a turbocharger. Oh man. So
that's a common swap.
And then when I went over to the motorcycles, I think we had more this year. I think it is growing.
Yes.
And what I liked about it was bikes like Ron's, all the way to a couple of rat bikes, to a guy that built an old Ironhead Sportster as a tribute to his fallen classmates that he graduated with that passed away during Vietnam. He had all of their names painted. When I interviewed the guy, I thought he was going to cry. You know, he was so serious and so emotional about it. And I think when he takes that bike, you know, and he takes it out, it's a tribute, you know, to his friends, you know, and you could tell he was sincere. It wasn't, anything fake about it. So
how many bikes
those
do
are
we
my
have there, Larry?
takeaways.
How many bikes do we have there?
I don't, well, I counted 24, but then there was like 5 or 6 other bikes that came in after the judging.
Yeah.
And that, so,
Around
I think we got
30 bikes.
close to 30 bikes. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's not to mention that I had my friends show up. They didn't enter their bikes at all. They parked cleared on the other side, and they just come out to support the cause, see everybody, say hi to me, and then tell me that while I was sweating, they were heading out to the Grandview Bar and Grill out at Lake Milton.
Thanks
And,
a lot.
they were going to call me, and they kept sending me pictures of Miller Lite pictures and stuff. So, but that's what I like about the car show. Also, I like the fact that it is, we have grass for the cars, which is good for everybody in shade. And we've got pavement or parking lot type stuff for the bikes. So guys don't have to bring pucks and for their side stand and stuff like that. They can be rest assured that when they park the bike, it's going to be secure there. So those are my takeaways from it.
Let me jump in here. Your son, you're Corey's dad, Corey
That's right.
Ward.
That's
So but
Corey Ward's father.
We had, we had, we did have it at Chili's, and Corey helped us so much. And we moved it to Austin Town Park for only one reason. You just said it, the grass, the blacktop, as you well know, everybody knows, it's so hot, and we would have died.
Oh,
we would have died. Yeah. So even the grass was hot, but that's the only reason we moved it from Chili's, because Chili's and Corey was so generous into donating their parking lot.
Yeah, and he stopped out to visit. And I forgot one other thing. The trophies that you guys have from Youngstown Cycle and Speed, or Speed and Cycle, I can't remember. But Adam and the troops up there are just fantastic. Let me tell you, the Corvette Club, the Mahoning Valley Corvette Club, takes a lot of pride in the customized trophies that they build every year. And I have to tell you that ours for this car show more than rival them. We have just one of a kind pieces. I mean, I had to laugh when one of the guys come up to accept the award for his class, and it was a tire with a thing built inside. I mean, that was so cool.
You know who that was? That was Ron.
How did he get, Ron, how'd you get that thing home on a motorcycle? I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine there with a car. And he
Okay. That was really cool then.
I laugh. I've never really thought of that when we got these Youngstown Cycle and Speed. We changed this whole show around for Generation 3 last year at Austin Town Park. We didn't want the typical trophies, and I wanted to keep this local. I wanted a local company to build the trophies, and Adam and his team down there take so much time into cutting these and painting these. It's incredible. And I want to tell you all that they actually do that and sell those. They can actually take a portrait of your car, motorcycle, or anything and cut it out on steel and paint it for you. And it is dirt cheap. It's worth every penny of it. And you can get that done down at Youngstown Cycle and Speed on Market Street in Boardman. And they will do that for you. Yes. So, but yeah, we wanted to throw out shout out to them, and we had Vegas Band, and everybody loves Vegas Band. I had more people coming up from out of the area that came up to me and said, "Who is this band?" I said, "It's Vegas," and they're like, "They're incredible." And yes, they're great. And Thomas John has supported us for the whole time from day one when we started this show, and 10 years later, Thomas John is still spinning those. I guess. They're not their CDs. I don't even know what he uses up there. If he's still kind of old school and uses.
I think
CDs.
it's all digital now.
Yeah. Okay.
Digital.
But he still supports us. We had one hot cookie there serving desserts. We had Molnar's is our vendor for food, and
Great. Now wait a minute. When you said one hot cookie there, I thought you were going to give us her name.
Yeah. Her name is Cookie.
Dang. I didn't have time to eat. I was so busy.
No,
I didn't either. You know what? I see Corey up there. I'm trying to get there, and he goes and he gets one of those hot sausage and a giant Coke, and then he walks by me, and I'm like, hey. And he goes, they're over there. You got to
That's a slap it out of his hand. That's the only time I saw Corey. He said hi, and he had a sausage sandwich stuck in his face. And I'm sitting there starving going, man, I want that sandwich.
Yeah, I know.
Rick, give us your viewpoints on the show this year compared to other ones. Any what do you think of the cars that came out?
Well, I walked 4.5 miles that day.
Oh.
According to my phone, I walked 4.5 miles, and we did have a good show. I'll tell you, I really liked it. A little hot, and I think that stopped some people from coming out, especially the older folks. Plus, there was a threat of rain coming 2:00-ish, 3:00-ish. So we did have a great variety of cars, and I'll tell you, you couldn't ask for anything better. You know what? It was so positive, that show. I just, everywhere I went, everybody just had this big smile on their face, and they were enjoying the heck out of everything,
So we finally got it right, huh?
Yeah, I think we did. And we didn't get any negative things in the whole thing. Usually you get a couple negatives in there, but I didn't hear any negatives at all.
I did
every show. Oh, you got one?
Oh, I got one. And if you, I'm not...
Was it about me?
Well, I get a lot of negative comments about you all the time. But people didn't like. There was one person didn't like. We didn't bring the cars up, and I'm like, it was just people were antsy to get out, and it's like we had to slow it down somewhere. And I get it; it's cool, but it takes time, and we would have been another half hour. So
that is a nice touch, though. The best.
It is cool. I agree.
Yeah.
But people were leaving at 2:15 already from the show. So people were getting hot. They're getting tired. Yeah. And I get it.
That was the only negative. I think the humidity, it really killed me after a while. I come home and I just crashed out. I was out of it. I said, 8 hours in the sun.
No, you're right. But another thing I noticed is that an awful lot of young people, my granddaughter, who just turned 13, so she's officially a teenager 2 days before the show. She talked to me a couple of weeks ago. I don't know how they remember this stuff. And she said, hey, am I going to be able to go with you and judge this year again? I really had a good time and I liked it. So she stayed and made about 2 hours, but she got a little overheated. So Uncle Corey took her home, which would be Corey's dad, Larry, or whatever, took her home.
Larry,
And but she had a blast, and she judged a couple of cars that she really liked, and I put them down and stuff like that. So I like the fact that there were some younger people. And when I say about the variety of cars, I mean, there was an Isetta, a yellow Isetta, which is a German car that has a door that opens up in the front.
The refrigerator.
The guy had a giant key on the back, and when he was driving, somehow he motorized it, so when the thing moved, the key turned like it was a wind-up key. And it was the coolest thing.
They come out every year.
You see stuff like that, it's like, boy, that is cool, man.
Well, that's a lot. That's what I noticed. I was going through this stack right here of registration forms. I don't know if you can see that, but we go going through that, and the variety of cars. I was looking. I couldn't find Jim's phone number, so I was digging. I didn't have a registration number, so I'm digging through. I'm going through, and I like to look at the cars. I was looking for his car, and I'm like, you know what? You know how many 69 Chevelles there were at the show? Two. And usually we get more. So, and you know how many 68s there were? 0. You know how many 67s? 0. 70s? 0. So we got a ton of different cars out, and that's what I was amazed at. We had the Mustangs, but we had Cosworth Vega.
I love those.
Yes, and we had an Opel. We had an AMC.
AMX.
And it wasn't the Javelin AMX. No,
I didn't even know they made that.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
talking to the guy. Yeah, I shouldn't have interviewed him. Yeah, I missed him.
We had the car club that. Remember, we interviewed the Brothers of Thunder or something.
Brothers of Power.
Brothers of Power.
Brothers of Power out there.
They supported the show.
Did you see the Cadillacs?
Yes.
Did you see? Okay, here, the Bonneville. You had a Pontiac Bonneville. I was talking to the guy. It had a retractable sunroof, which is one of like 1,500 made in 78. I think it was a 78. So it was a very rare car, but they supported us, and we had the rat rods. And yeah, it was a very.
Did you see that Maverick?
And the diesel truck. Oh, the Maverick was cool. Had a 4-speed with a 289 in it. That was cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How often do you see those?
No, we had some Pintos. We had more Pintos out there than Chevelles. Let's put it that way.
You
We
had a
more-
lot of Mustangs out there. A lot
Yeah.
of them.
We always usually do.
Yeah.
Mustangs,
Yeah.
Camaros.
No, you know what? I don't know. There's Jim. He keeps cutting out on us, but there's Jim's back. He's going to connect
Jim.
the audio here in a minute. But, Ron Dubas has a 2012 Harley Davidson Street Glide. And Ron won our grand champion for the motorcycle part of it. I mean, he took home the whole works for our show. And Larry, I want you to, and I'm going to get a little bit of viewpoint from Ron, but Larry, I want you to go on of why this motorcycle was picked of Ron's.
Well, I think it is just the attention to detail of everything that was upgraded on the bike. And if you were to look at the bike, it's just the theme that was continued from the front to the back, and then the extraordinary paint job and the ability to be able to light up the custom graphics that are on the bike. So if you don't mind, I'll turn it over to Ron.
Yep.
And ask Ron, let's talk about your bike. And certainly want to congratulate you again for being a grand champion, Ron. Good job. But I'd like you to talk about your bike and walk us through from the front to the back, and if you don't mind. And I wished we had a picture now. Darn it, I forgot.
Yeah, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. Ron, email me one. I'm going to throw it in editing because I forgot to ask for one.
Me too.
Jim sent some pictures over, and I forgot to ask Ron. So you email it to me. I'll throw it in editing tomorrow. When I
Next year, I'll take pictures personally and send them directly to you of the bikes that we select. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to us, Ron, about your bike. And first of all, I guess the thing that I would ask is, what in your mind did you, when you think about customizing a bike that's kind of like a stock bike and you're not going wild as far as, crazy stuff on customizing, but you are making it individual and it is top line. Did the bike that you end up with start out in your mind that way, or did you change it as you started to go?
No, it started out that way. I bought the bike brand new in 2012. And the first thing I did, a lot of guys, when they buy a new Harley, they change the exhaust system. So I put Vance and screw duals on it immediately, and I put tail gunner exhaust on it. And those are those Gatling guns in the back that spin.
Now
And
those things, they are the greatest. They look like Gatling guns, and when you rev it up, they spin.
Right. Well, that started the whole thing right there. That started it. And I just, and a lot of chrome. I'm a chrome person. I love chrome. So everything else is chrome. And even the air cleaner is an Arlen Ness air cleaner, and it looks like a double barrel shotgun. And there's bullets throughout the bike in different places, different items with bullets on them to go with the gun theme. And that's pretty much the layout of it.
Okay.
It's got a bullet theme to it, but they're subtle. A lot of them are subtle,
Right.
and I want to make it gaudy looking. And what you said about it, if they're strategically placed on the bike to where it doesn't look gaudy.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then came the paint job after that. After all.
Now that paint job is phenomenal, and I'll let you talk about it in a minute. But I know in painting Corvettes how ungodly expensive just a white paint job on a Corvette can be. And I know something that you have done, you've taken that to the next level, both on the metal flake finish in there and how the accents are applied and how they light up and that. So why don't you talk about who you selected to do the paint job, why you selected that particular color, and the theme that runs throughout that you can light up. Let's talk about those things.
I surfed the internet a lot, and I seen a company in Chicago called Gator Customs, and they have a patent for this type of lighting. These are actual LED lights that are embedded into the body. They won't tell you how you do it, how they do it. Well, I contacted them originally, and because I seen a gas tank that they had done, and the Harley Davidson lit up on the gas tank.
That's cool.
And I called him up and I said, you know, what's the story with this? He said, well, we can't tell you how you did it. You send us your gas tank, we'll do it, and we'll paint it and send it back to you. But it's real expensive, real expensive. So I kind of forgot about it for a couple of months, and then I decided, you know what, a friend of mine came over, and I got a piece of paper out, and I said, you know, boy, that stuff would really look good if we could make it flow up to the bike, a couple of lines, and then put a bullet in it and make the bullet fire and go up the side of the bike, and put the bar and shield up on the front fairing and have that light up. And then if they could airbrush a skeleton head on the back fender with a rotating gun. And so I sent the picture to them, and they said, we can do it. It's very expensive, real expensive.
Yeah.
I paid more for that than I did my first house. But
whoa, did wife know about that?
Yeah.
And the color red, everything I own is red. I have a 2009 Harley Fat Boy.
You're gonna love Jim's car then.
Yeah, everything I have a red truck, a red car, 2 red motorcycles.
Jeez.
I just like red. And I took them the bike, and that was pretty much all I said to do. And it took them 6 months to do it. They had
Well, you got to take it apart.
That lighting. They have just like 2,000 LED lights in there that are embedded into the body. And then I'm guessing that they fiberglass over the lights, and then they paint it, and then they bleed through. The lights just bleed through. They're so bright at night. I mean, if it was at night, it's unbelievable bright at night.
Wow.
I told them I wanted candy red, but I never knew that they were going to put all that flake in it. And it
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, that
Nice.
flake is seamless on that bike. There isn't one area that looks like it dips in, or it has a
Right.
little lesser. I mean, it is absolutely flawless.
It is. It really is. They did one heck of a job. They really did. It's amazing what they did.
You know, I'm going to suggest a new license plate for you.
Okay.
It'll go, here my 401k.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays, you can't afford a bike with your 401k the way it's going right now. So,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
you know, Ron, hold that thought a minute, Ron. I want to just jump over to Jim.
Sure.
You know, we'll get back to Ron here in a minute. Now, Jim,
Yes, sir.
Rick, I want you to talk about this car. You remember?
Oh, what a beauty. What a custom job this is. This started out, what, Jim, back in the 1950s, 53,
Yes.
right?
The car, yes, was bought brand new in 1953.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy drove it, I was told, for a couple of months. And then he just decided, I want to make a show car. And they went off, and the customizer, there's not 1 square inch of that car that wasn't touched.
Shaved handles. Looks like
They shaved door handles, French headlights, shaved and stretched hood, shaved trunk lid. It's a 53 O's with a 56 O's front bumper, 56 O's custom insert grill. It's got 54 Buick taillights. It's got 57 Oldsmobile back bumper. All the trunk has been redone to match the car.
Oh,
all white
nice.
interior. It's got power brakes. It's got power steering. The heads are chrome. The water pump is chrome. When the car was in its heyday, the gas tank was chrome. The drive shaft was chrome. The leaf springs were chrome.
Chrome.
Yes, my backing plates, my drums, my steering linkage, everything
Jeez.
under that car is chrome.
Oh gosh, that's big.
How do you keep it
bucks
clean?
there.
You know, gee.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when it was in its heyday, back then in the day, man, back then, they used the old Cadillac big motor.
Yeah.
Well, that one through time wore out or whatever happened. And now it's got the original, I think it was like a 331
Yep.
Oldsmobile Rocket with 3 deuces on it. And, you know, the thing is, I've been blessed, really. And I thank the Lord for everything that I have.
Yep. And,
Because
you know,
I've known this car for many, many, many years. And my buddy Dennis Trolls, that was his father's car. And you know what was funny? I'll tell you a little quick story about that car, if you don't mind.
Nope.
A friend of mine called me and said, Jim, I want to talk to you about the Big O, because that's the name of the car. And I said, what about it? And he said, I think I'm going to buy it. And I said, no, you're not. I said, Dennis is not going to sell his dad's car. The car's been in the garage for almost 20 years. Nobody's seen the car. And he said, can you tell me about it? I said, brother, I can tell you every inch of that car. So I told him, I said, now, the main thing you need to do is stop talking to me and call Dennis and buy the car. Okay, Jim, thanks a lot. He hangs up. He calls me the very next day. Hey, Jim, how you doing? I go, good, Charlie. Please tell me you bought the car. No, I didn't buy it. I'm going to buy this other truck. You know what I did? I hung up on him and called Dennis, and about 5 minutes later, I owned the car.
Yeah. It's funny how that works out because, you know, it seems like it's, you know, a lot of the times it's not planned what you're going to buy. And then all of a sudden it just shows up. They say the cars pick their owners or
Yes,
they're caretakers, not owners.
Caretakers.
They're
That's what it
caretakers.
is.
And that
That's
is
right.
the way it works. I've had the same experience with my 61 Beetle, you know,
Mhm.
same thing, kept coming around. I finally ended up in my garage. So, you know, we understand that. And let me ask about the paint on this car. Now, what about the paint?
That's
It is.
lacquer.
Lacquer paint. That's what I thought. Now, how old is that paint?
That car was painted and took, if you see my plaques that are in the back, I made a replica of one of the original plaque. Then I have the other plaque next to it that gives all the information and documentation. The other one that I think I had one inside the trunk. I thought I had them side by side. And it shows 59. It was cover car of Popular Hot Rodding and Carcraft.
Wow.
So that's 1959. Then the next one, it says 1961 Best of Show. And Dennis had given me several paper magazines, that car was a feature car. Best paint, best engineered. The thing from back in the day, it's got air shocks on the back that it has a little air pump that's in the passenger side inner fender well that came off of a Cadillac. Remember the old load levelers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a toggle switch under the dash. You start the car, grab the toggle switch, pull it back, it fires up that pump, and it lifts the back of the car up. And then I have 2 airbags, which I replaced. I had to, they were rotted, inside the front coil springs.
Yep.
And I got 2 valves on either side. You squirt air in there, the front of the car lifts
I was going
up.
to say, you know, the old trick to that, instead of getting the airbags, get footballs and you put them right between the coil springs and you just air the footballs up and it raises the car. Yeah, that's an old 80s trick that I learned back when you wanted to raise the car up in the back, you know,
There you
the
go.
skinny front tires.
Mhm.
Yep. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right, man. But I'll tell you, there's one thing I still haven't done to that car is take the roof off.
That's a
And that
convertible,
roof
right?
is,
Yeah, that's a convertible.
it's a Carson removable top. And I'm supposed to have at least 6 people with me because they said that thing weighs about 300 pounds.
Jeez.
And
you have to. Ooh, jeez.
I can't wait to take it off, but I'm afraid to death.
Mhm.
But you know, I have been in the cars. I've got a 68 Camaro that I've had since 1981.
Hold
There's
on.
that one you see. Yeah, them are some of my cars.
Right there. Yep. Well, yeah.
How about that one? That's
Yep.
that's my gift. That was my gift to my son. That's his 16th birthday present. And,
Oh,
and
yikes.
believe me,
Must be nice, you know.
and let me tell you something.
I got
Let
a
me tell you something.
suitcase.
Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I love my children. My boy never left my side. He was there from the first screw to the last screw. And I'll tell you what, that sports a 454 big block with a turbo 350 tranny, race ready, Ford 9-inch. And let me tell you guys, that's what he drove to high school his senior year. And of course, he got best car in his year. But that boy can drive that car because I've seen them back tires engulfed in smoke, and he never let out.
Well, that's a son after your own heart.
Yeah, and he's a good kid. And his brother, that purple car, that's his brother's car, my fastback. It's a 51. Yeah, it's a 51 Chevy fastback, pro streeted, small block, fender well headers, and the green car in the middle. That's a 1952 Pontiac, never been apart, all original paint. I lowered it, and it's got a LS60
Ooh,
with
yeah.
a
Oh,
4L60E,
Yeah.
Wow.
Good.
and she'll run real nice.
Well, since we're on that subject, before we get back to Ron and, you know, some of what he has, is you got a Nova here.
It's a 1970. That's a little sentimental because that was a very, very good friend of mine's that had passed away. And his sisters asked if I would buy that car. And I said, most definitely.
Yep.
And I still have tickets above the driver window where the headliner goes in. Back in the day when we used to go to Meander, you used to get a paper ticket to go in. That headliner is filled with paper tickets from Meander Raceway, and I will not take them out.
No, gotta leave them in there.
Yeah. Pretty good.
There's my car. I built that car over the winter.
What is
And I'm
this
sad-
for our
that's a
streaming
19
audience?
That's a 1952 Chevy. It's a deluxe, and that's a 235 straight 6 power glide, all original drivetrain.
Thank you for leaving that in. I really appreciate that. That's
Because-
good.
And you know what? I bought a 350 Chevy motor with 350 Chevy transmission. I bought a 454 big block and a 400 transmission. And when I started to do that car, I said, you know what? I want to get into the mindset that I'm a mechanic. In 1952, what would I do to that car? I can't put a V8 in it. Didn't have one. So I put the straight 6 in it. I left it all original as far as the inside. The interior was done. The top has been chopped 6 inches. I bought the car actually with the chop done. They did a phenomenal job with that top. And I'm very, very sad to say that car left my driveway this past Saturday to a new owner.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
tough.
pretty much cried the whole time.
Yeah, I get it.
To the bank, probably.
Well, I probably sold it probably $5,000 to $6,000 too cheap. But you know what, guys? It's not about the money. If you love to build cars, you're a car guy. I'm a car guy. I sleep very good at night because I don't try to rip anybody off. I got a good conscience. I love cars. I love to talk with people with cars. And when I was first starting to do this back in the 80s, I would love, and I did it. I mean, I would go up to the older fellas and just hang out and listen because my dad always told me, sometimes you need to shut your mouth and open your ears. That's how I do what I do.
Yep.
And thank God he's blessed me. I've just recently retired from the street department of Youngstown, 1.5 years. I get up in the morning, I have breakfast with my wife, and I walk to the garage and start turning them wrenches, brother.
Yep, that's what you gotta love that.
The interesting thing about those earlier Chevys like that, because I had one when I was a kid, and they had enclosed drive shafts.
Yes,
you know?
sir.
And I was like, oh man, well, how am I gonna, and then you figure it out, but I never liked that. Boy, you got to take it all out. If you want to change the motor and put another transmission in, now you got to start measuring, leveling, checking, and you know about that. But and those old Chevy, what was it, 235? Was that what the motor was?
235 or a 216? Yeah.
Yeah, those things I remember I had a 60 Biscayne. I mean, just a rubber floor, 3-speed on the tree. And the glove box would hold 2 quarts of beer. It was good until I blew the trans and then changed it out and that. But I remember, having a 53 Chevy and it had an enclosed drive shaft, and I was like, man, I never ever saw anything like this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ron, we want to get back to Ron here. Motorcycles. Do you have any other bikes other than the one that you actually won the grand champion?
I have a 2009 Harley Fat Boy.
Okay.
Custom also. It doesn't have that kind of paint, but it's won a few shows. It's won some. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And any past motorcycles that you got rid of that you shouldn't have, or ones that just stick right in your head that you remember very well?
No, what I used to drag race. I've drag raced out Meander for years.
Okay.
I've been a mechanic for 50 years, over 50 years, and still am actually. And I raced out there, like he did. I started off with a 72 Ford Pinto, and I put a 460 Ford motor in it.
There you go.
And then I had a Maverick that with a 429 in it, and raced it out there. And then I went in way big, and I bought an ex-Pro Stock car.
Okay.
Stock car.
I remember that car.
Bob Glidden.
Yes, sir.
8700. I hooked up with Bob in Columbus, and I bought the car off of him, and I raced that for 23 years. I raced it around the country. I actually traveled around the country with it. But it gets expensive, real fast. And the faster you go, the more you're going to spend. And
if you break something, the more you spend, the faster you go.
Oh yeah.
If you break it, you wreck it too. Yeah.
Let me kind of address this with both you guys. When I drag race, my dad used to have 3 gas stations, and we wanted to do something together. And back when I was 16 and I wanted to go drag racing, because I've been driving for almost 3 years on and off, stuff like that. Back, I'm 71 now, so that was a ways ago. But I wanted to get into racing. And back then, when they did the stock cars, the Bickerstaff and Forney and those guys, and they raced out at Canfield and other places, well, you couldn't have a V8 car. You had to be 18 or older to drive a V8 car. If you were 16, 17, you were relegated to a 6-cylinder. Well, I didn't want any of that. So we ended up drag racing, and took the Biscayne. I had put a 283 in it, and put a manual 3-speed, because that's what the class allowed. But I was in what they call the stock O class. And that means you had to hang one set of pipes on it, but they didn't have to, you could run headers, but just by rule, you had to hang them. And that was like, you'd line up against another car that was pretty similar. And the guy that got to the end and lit the light is the guy that won. I went out a couple years ago to watch some drag racing, and I was never more disappointed in my life. Guy took off, goes like crazy, and then the car shuts off for about 4 or 5 seconds. Then it starts like a bracket car or something. And I'm like, what the heck is this? This isn't drag racing.
That's exactly right.
If you watch Street Outlaws, a lot of that is scripted now, but that's drag racing. The guy that gets there first, that's it. That's right. I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts. Have you seen any of the drag racing down at Quaker or any of the other strips. I mean, I raced at Ohio Drag City. Do you guys remember Sunset?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh,
around
yeah.
where I live at.
Yeah.
And you know what? I ran
Alex-
513 gears. That was an eighth mile drag strip, you know, and you get up there and you're like, wham, wham, and you're through the traps, you know.
And
But,
your engine's screaming by the time you got to the 8th mile, those high
Well,
gears or those low.
You got a small,
you know,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not a Ford, man. That's a small block Chevy. That's racing, man. You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
it's a little easier to run those things. But I just wanted to get your opinion on the drag racing scene. Has anybody seen any of in the last couple of years, something that they enjoyed out of either a pro bike series or drag racing for cars? Either of you?
I think it's a dying deal now, to be honest with you. I don't, it just costs too much to do what you're required to do anymore. Unless there again, the faster you go, the more it's going to cost you to do it. And
Yeah, right.
you got to find sponsors, and you can't even find them anymore because I look at the grandstands and there's nobody there anymore.
You're right.
Back in the day, they were packed,
Yeah.
and now they're pricing themselves right out of the market.
Well, there's so much competition for the entertainment dollar anymore, Ron. I mean,
Right.
there's a lot of things going out there, but I'll share one quick story with you guys. Corey was doing something, and I don't remember the drag racing track in PA, but he tried to put on one of those street national things like he did at Quaker. And I had my bike there, and I said, I'll ride over. I'm coming back from somewhere, and I'll spend the night, and we'll go to the track the next day. So Corey was on his golf cart, and he had somebody else with him, and he goes, well, you know, Dad, you used to tell me all those stories and that. He said, why don't you take your bike out on the track there? And I said, what? And he goes, why don't you take your bike out on the track? And I said, okay, all right, I'll do that right now. And I said, I got to take off the top case and the saddlebags. Then I went over and I forgot how sticky the track can be when you step down on it. But I'll tell you what, I welded down the quarter mile twice, and I come back and I go, is that good enough for you?
Yeah.
Corey,
Trying to get the old man in trouble. You know,
Yeah.
Well, I
seems like
just
my
thought-
son does that too.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
thought
No,
I was bullshitting him, you know.
It's
So-
really something about how Ron's talking about back in the day about the drag racing and everything, because maybe a little bit of it is because of him that I'm into the cars the way I am, because Friday and Saturday night, my 68 Camaro was at Meander, and I can name them off the top of my head. Midnight Rider, Running Bear, Jumpin' Joe Groves, Bionic Bird, the Sinkowitz brothers. You guys were all there. And, you know, it's, thank God, like I said, I keep saying I'm blessed, but my children are into hot rods. Man, dude, because of you, I'm into hot rods, and I love them. And you know what? When I leave this world, my son's going to put my ashes in a gallon jug, put it in front of my tires, light them up, baby, because they're
Smoke them while you got them.
Yeah, that's it, brother. I'll tell you.
That's
And the
good.
thing about the drag racing, like he's saying, my boys know guys that are into that no prep. And I'll tell you what, these young guys running these no prep races, it's who gets to the starting line and then who gets to the finish line first. There's no stagger start.
No.
You run what you brung.
That's
What's
the way it
what's
should
snow
be.
prep?
Well, another
Pardon me?
good reason. Oh,
What's snow prep?
They go to the local drag strips and they do not put any stickum on the track whatsoever.
Okay.
You just come there and you get your car. There's no practice runs. You come
Okay.
there, you unload your car, you go to a driver's meeting, everybody get to your car. You pull a pill, this guy's running that guy. I
Right.
could have a small block Chevy with twin turbos. You might have a big block Ford, big block Chevy, Hemi, tons of nitrous. When you do your burnout, you back up. They flash that tree, brother.
Yep.
It's
That's it,
down the track you go.
It's on.
There's nothing like a good flashlight drag. You know, we used to do that all the time because I grew up in New Wilmington. So we had nothing but cornfields, Amish buggies, and long roads. Go. And, you know, you go out there in the middle of the night and then you're people are flashlight dragging. And you don't know when they're pulling that flashlight up because they'll do this.
Yeah.
And you're watching. It's like, just pull the damn flashlight up. Get me going. But yeah, that's the way it should be.
They do that.
The thing, man.
They do that now on some of the streets in Youngstown.
Yep.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, Rick, we got
I'm not gonna
invited
tell you
down
that my
to
son
shoot
did it.
video for that.
Yes, we
You
did.
should do that. No, that would be a good one.
Like, no, we'd be in jail.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
I can't tell you that my kids are doing that. I just slipped. didn't I?
Well, your kids aren't the only ones going down there because I've got a son that does the same dang thing. So, even though he won't tell me where it is, Dad knows where it is. So,
Well,
chip off the old blocks.
it's almost like deja vu, because I remember back when my dad had gas stations. One of them was a Sunoco on the corner of South Avenue and Williamson. So when you used to go up South Avenue, there was a place called On the Ramp. There was a bar there. It's not there anymore. But when you get on that ramp, there was almost a quarter-mile stretch there. The guys coming back from Nam had the Z28s, and they'd be running for pinks. I'm telling you, it was serious ass shit, boy. It was serious.
Yeah.
We still talk about stories how when the Boardman police and the Youngstown police went on strike. This was years and years ago.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the corner of 224 and Market Street. They were heading into Youngstown or in front of the mall, I mean, and I watched cars come off of trailers that I was driving a motorcycle illegally, and they were drag racing down Market Street. And I said, man, buddy, wait till I get my turn.
Yeah.
It was nice.
And, it's funny you mention it, because my dad, we stored the race car in the Sunoco gas station on Williamson Avenue. So if you take Williamson and you go right up, you hit Market Street. So one night, and it was getting close to Halloween, me and my buddy, and I don't know why I did this, because my dad wasn't an easygoing guy, but I went over and got that damn car out. And I mean, it had open headers and big slicks on it. And I took it up and down Market Street and raced anybody that wanted to try it. Sometimes I got beat, sometimes I won, and I had a ball.
Oh, yeah.
And then the next day, I parked the car and I thought, oh shit, this is all good. The very next day, my dad stops at the gas station that night, and because he was a superintendent in the steel mill, and he said, so how's it going? And I went,
you're in trouble.
Well, that's how it starts. Well, I don't know, Dad. I'm working. I mean, it seems like okay. And he goes, so anything new? Anything happening? And I go, like what? And he goes, well, like last night. Anything happening last night?
And did your heart stop and you felt the blood just rush out of your head?
What I didn't know is, because my dad knew everybody, he knew all the Youngstown cops. So none of them stopped me. They just called my dad.
Yeah.
That was the worst thing to happen. And I mean, I was like 16 and a half, and I got grounded. I got grounded for a month.
Yep.
Back then you didn't have cell phones. You had to use the house phone. I couldn't call my girlfriend. I wasn't allowed to do nothing for a month except work at the gas station. And boy, I was lucky I didn't get my butt beat, because he was the kind that was like, and maybe it's because I was a little bit older. I don't know, but he didn't say too much other than, you broke trust there. And it's a good thing that the Youngstown Police Department called me instead of hauling your ass to jail. And I was like, he goes, you took out a car that's not street legal with open headers. And I said, well, Dad, I got to tell you, I was just being a kid. Yep. And of course, that's being dumb. So that maybe, but I got.
But you know what? That was something that meant a lot to your father. Means a lot to me is the word trust between you and your father. And that's what I have tried to instill into my children to this day. If I can trust you, you can take any one of my cars you want. I don't care. If I can trust you, but just remember one thing, whatever happens to that car on the road, you're responsible. Yep. If you break it, you fix it.
You know what, Larry, I could honestly say I never met your dad, but I know you, but I guarantee one thing. Your dad turned around and had this smirk up the one side of his face. He told you that going, well, you know what? It's something I would have done too.
Yeah, my dad was don't spare the rod and spoil the child kind of dad when I was growing up. And
that's right.
And sometimes I'd get a whooping and he'd find out I really wasn't person involved. And then he says, but you know what? I know you, and I know there'll be another time, so we'll just save that.
That's right. There you go.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you
I
the
can
one thing, I've always had cars, but I've always had a love. I was the only guy in my whole family, on both sides of the family, that have been riding motorcycles all of my life. And I just got off of rehabbing for 3 months, cracking up a bike. And at 71, it's just terrible. I mean, you just rehab, crutches, can't walk, problems, And my wife said, I really want you to think about selling those motorcycles. And I said, well, I want you, lovely wife of 48 years, to think about this. I have had them since I was 13.
Yep.
Long before I met you. I'm not getting rid of the motorcycles. And if you decide that's not good and you want to leave and take half the money, go ahead.
Yeah. I still got my motorcycles.
Yeah.
Got the
Hey,
bikes, huh?
I've got a big bear chopper myself. I'm
Oh.
into the bike scene. I love it all, man. If it has a
Oh,
motor
yeah.
and it sounds good, come on with it.
No.
Yeah. I gotta tell you quickly. It wasn't only here because I didn't grow up here in the Mahoning Valley, but when we used to head out to Grove City, PA, and back when again, you can't do this stuff now. You're gonna get thrown in the clink. But
Right.
back then, we headed to Grove City, and it was Friday nights, and the police chose which Friday nights that they kind of let loose that we're leaving for 1 hour. Line up in town, stoplight to stoplight, and you watch the police take off out of town, and then the cars lined up, and it was stoplight to stoplight for that hour. But they said, if we bust you right after that hour, you're busted. So it was like clockwork. You see them coming down the hill, and then we all dispersed, and we're done.
Wow.
And it was.
Greg, I can tell you, Greg, that you're not old enough, but me and the other two guys, maybe not Rick either, but Ron and the other guy, I know they're going to remember this. It was like 68, 69. You could go up and down Market Street, and it's light to light, and whoever pulls up next to you, and that's the way it would be. I remember having Mary, who was my girlfriend then in 1969. I had 3 different GTOs, and one of my I campaigned the 68 on the drag strip, and I called it the Tin Indian. And it did its share of beating up on cars, and I didn't lose too many, once in a while, but I tell you what, I had my 69, which was take my gal out on they were always 4-speed cars and that, but some guy on a Boss Mustang pulled up next to me at the traffic light. And I remember going past Dunkin' Donuts when it was way up on Market Street there at about 103. And that big block Pontiac started pulling him when we got up into those kind of speeds. And everything was good until the highway patrol showed up.
Yeah.
That's a story for another time. But oh yeah. Oh, but I'll tell you what, those were magical times. I mean, when I was 16, I had a 55 Chevy, but my buddies had 390 Cyclone. Remember those with the 4-speed?
yeah.
Very
Yeah.
rare.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
My cousin bought one in '67, Mercury Cyclone GT 390 4-speed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's sitting right up the street from me right now. In his
Yeah,
garage.
that's very rare car. Rick, we gotta get you in here a little bit.
I'm not a drag racer, so I'm just listening to your stories.
Yeah, see, that's
It was the best of times.
yeah. Well, if you want to do the drag racing, and it was nice to see. I got to get back to the show real quick. That we had. I told my son to tell his friends to come out to the show, but we had some young generation come out, and that's what we want to see. Is the younger guys. And I have to say, I had a friend of mine stop by. He's the one, his dad is the one that painted my Chevy Caprice back in 1992. And he taught me everything about body work because he was a body man. And that's what got me started when I was younger. It's like, listen to us, that we know what we're talking about. They might think we don't know, but we do know because it doesn't change. It's all the same. It's all the same, the way you work, body work, the way you paint, the way you fix. Again, technology's changed, but it's still nuts and bolts and screws. that, you know, and maybe some stupid plastic clips that you're swearing to get out that you can't anymore. But I got to get back to one thing, and I have to ask our guests this all the time. Jim, dream car or dream bike? What is it?
1968 Camaro convertible.
Convertible. Now that, yeah, you have the Camaro, but not the convertible. So
Yes, sir. And I've had a couple opportunities to get one. And that's why I keep working at it. I keep working at it. But you know, them old Chevys from 49 to 54, they got my heart. At one time, I had one of each one.
wow.
Mhm.
And I tried to keep them all. I started out with a shed in my backyard that was 10 feet deep and 25 feet wide. You know
Yeah.
how big the shed is now? It's
Yeah.
36 feet deep and 46 feet wide.
And it's not enough. It
The
never
more
is enough.
cars
It's never
I get,
enough. Yeah.
Yeah, the more cars I get, I just keep moving the garage door out farther.
Yeah.
And now I got 3 buildings.
Yeah. Ron, dream car, dream motorcycle, what is it?
I have a dream bike that I want.
That's good.
I have that.
That's cool.
Can't do anything more to it.
No,
It is.
that's what we want to hear.
I got
You know what? It was truly the best of the show for the bikes. You know, it truly was the grand champion. There was no doubt about it.
And, you know, Jim won, trying to remember what you won. What?
Best American car modified.
Okay. Yeah, he took home that Youngstown Cycling
modified,
Speed
all right.
Trophy. Yep.
Oh, it's modified. That's
Oh,
for
it's
sure.
modified.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But
You know,
yeah,
the nice thing is that Jim is a quality caretaker of these cars. He respects the history, and he makes sure that he pays attention to it, loves it, and always passes it forward.
yep.
Good job, Jim.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you
Ron,
very much.
Ron, that was Jim, well deserved as the trophy winner of that class. And Ron, you took home the grand champion, which was well deserved because that bike is incredible as well.
Fantastic.
And we have one to wrap up the show. Any thoughts, Rick, before we wrap things up here?
I'd just like to thank Ron and Jim for appearing tonight. Nice job, guys. I like your stories. I'm not much of a drag racer, but I was in there. I was listening to them. I enjoyed them.
Larry, wrap up.
I just want to encourage our leader, Greg, to let's get out some midnight and do flashlight drags and film it.
Yes. Well, we can film it, but we won't devour the location. If you're, I'm not shooting it because I'm going to be in it. I don't want to sit there and shoot this. I want to be in I haven't drug race. Well, here's my son got a Civic Si and he's all excited about it. And I said, he goes like, you wouldn't race me. I said, line them up. I don't care. And then it's like, maybe not. Yeah, exactly. But
what about the Mustang? Does he still have that?
Oh yeah, he just got.
That's the one to race.
Here's the generational gap. I've got to tell you this. He was so excited to take those dual exhausts off and put a single exhaust on it, and that is a generation gap. And I'm doing this. Going, no. And he
Mustang.
Yeah.
Has he turbocharged it?
No, it's a 4.6, and he put a single exhaust on it. So, but again, his friends love that. They want the single exhaust. I'm like, you've been in the tuners too long. But
really.
So that's the gap.
Just the other way around.
Yeah, yeah. We used to sit there and fight to put dual exhausts on these cars. Now it's going backwards. They're taking these dual exhausts off and putting the single large pipes. He put a 4-inch exhaust. And I said, well, you're getting a ticket because it's straight pipe. There is no muffler on it, and it's loud. It is loud. But
hell, we used to weld little cutouts right where the wide pipe comes down. And then you go to race somebody out on a back road, you crawl underneath the car, take a 9/16 wrench,
turn them open.
take off one
That's
bolt,
right.
tighten it up, and now you got as good as you're going to get without headers,
No, we were so I didn't have any money, so we just end up taking where the collector came out and just dropping the exhaust off, so it sounded better. Even though it sounded terrible, sounded like you didn't have an exhaust, which you didn't, and it sounded. That's the way we made our cars loud.
We should invite like 5 different guys or gals from that 66 to 70 era to come on for a whole hour, and let's talk about the 60s leading into the 70s, the car scene. And I'm telling you what, it'd be a fantastic show, because you get guys like Jim and Ron, they'd be talking and you'd be like, oh, wow.
You got to include the 80s, because that's when I grew up and we were still tracking them out.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm going to tell you right now, we had a tougher time because we had Dodge Omnis, we had Volkswagen Rabbits, and we had the gas crunch that killed us. And we're trying to, I remember going around bends and you're taking a right-hand turn, trying to squeal the tires. And we're like, you squeal and you're like, yay. And it's like, you guys had the muscle cars. We didn't even have that.
Now, wait a minute. If you remember that Omni, they made a model called the GLH, DeLorean, or somebody came out
Go
with
like
GLH.
hell is what it was.
That's right. And let me tell you what, I knew a guy that had one, and I rode in that thing with that turbo, that 4-cylinder.
They're fast.
Oh, yeah.
If the turbo lasted.
High 14-second car,
Yeah, we had the quad 4s, and we could go on and on and on about that.
Hey, don't forget, us 80 guys, we had disco, man. Disco.
Yeah, we had disco. We had the platform shoes, and
I had a Bill Bottoms platform shoes, ruffled collars.
Yeah.
Hey,
I had a 77 Monte Carlo with swivel bucket seats in the sunroof. I thought that was the cat's meow.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what the theme song was? Ha, ha, ha.
Yeah.
That's right. And
Well, I used to
Travolta.
we had the members only jacket.
That's
we
right.
had the parachute pants, and and we had the colored hair and the bright colors. So in the 80s, so that's what I grew up with. And but it all boils down to one thing: we all sit there and we would drag race, and that's where it ended up to be.
It was a car thing.
Yep.
That's right.
In my era, almost everybody wore a 3/4 length leather jacket. No patches, nothing, just 3/4 length leather jacket. Corey he wears one today.
Yeah, that never goes out of style. We got to wrap the show up here. I wanted to announce we have set and booked Austin Town Park for next year. July 23rd, 2023 will be the 11th annual Street Scene Car and Custom Bike Show. We have a rain date too. I don't want to mention that, of the 30th, the week after. July 23rd, Austin Town Park. Put it on your calendars. If you've attended the show this year, you will be getting a mailer in the mail thanking you and getting an invite personally from, and I have to fill them out, all probably 400 of them. So, you'll be getting that in the next 6 months, I'd say, but look for that. July 23rd, 2023, 11th Annual Street Scene Car and Custom Bike Show. Ron and Jim, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
And thank you.
We enjoyed hearing your stories. We could go on another hour, but for Rick Guerrera, Larry Ward, I'm Greg Roten. We'll see
you down the road.
On the road. Yeah.